most of you know, I went to Morocco. It was a 15-day trip. I will say it was more of a journey than a vacation. It was called the Nomadic Soul Journey, and we moved a lot. There was only, I think, twice that we stayed in a place for more than one night, so there's a lot of motion going on in these pictures. So yeah, I'm just happy to share my trip. It was life-changing for me. Lots of really fun things happened. Actually, on I think it was like day 13, I felt like it had been 13 weeks more so than 13 days. I felt like I had already done so many things and seen so many things. It was amazing. So I started my trip. I flew to Amsterdam, and I stayed the night in Amsterdam. I was going to stay in a hotel in the airport because I didn't want to have to try to get up super early in the morning and get back to the airport. They didn't give me my boarding pass. So first story of the night. They didn't give me my boarding pass, and I was in Amsterdam for 17 hours because I wanted to see Amsterdam, not because I wanted to sit in the airport. So I asked, and everybody said, "Oh, some people said you can't leave. Some people said you just have to go to your gate in the morning." And I'm like, "Well, but if I want to leave?" And so I finally one person said, go ahead and go out, and go up to the desk, and they'll give you a boarding pass, and then you'll be fine. And I'm like, okay, so I go out, and everything's closed. I'm like, oh, this is fun. But by then I was already out, so I took the train into Amsterdam, and I went and sat on the canal and had some typical Dutch food, and people watched for a while, watched cats and storks and all sorts of crazy stuff. People on bicycles, and then I got back, and there was nobody around, everything was closed. I'm like, okay, I told the security guard, I'm staying in the hotel in the airport. And he found somebody to let me through a gate. The guy was like, okay, well, let me see your boarding passes. I don't have it. And he said, let me see your old ones. And they disappeared off my phone. I'm like, I don't have them. And he trusted me, and he said he would let me in. And he goes, wait, you're at the wrong side of the airport. No, you need to go outside and go all the way there. I said, I'm not going outside anywhere because I finally found somebody to let me in, and I'm getting in. So he let me in, and it took me over an hour to find my hotel inside the airport. So that was the beginning of my adventure. So anyway, Amsterdam was a beautiful city. It was a lot of fun to explore it for those couple of hours I had. And then the following morning, I got on a plane, and it was, I think, 3.5 hours to Marrakesh. So the reason I did this trip, I have a very good friend that I hung out with in Sandpoint for years. She moved to Arizona. She now does these trips for a living, and she had somebody cancel last minute, and so she had an extra bed. So I said, Colin, look at this. He goes, you should do it. I go, okay. And then the next day I said, I bought my tickets, and he goes, oh. So anyway, that was it. So I hadn't seen her in 12 years. And when I first got there, she was at the hotel, and she took me out. We went out for my first tagine. We went out for lunch, and it was really great to catch up with her. Our kids were best friends when they were little, so it's pretty cool. This is the first hotel we stayed at in Marrakesh. This is the center area. I was staying in one of the rooms similar to that. On the other side, they had a pool in the middle. And we went walking around town, and this is one of the spice markets. I was very excited about spices. I came back and did a Moroccan meal at the restaurant, so spices was one of the things I was excited to see. I took all the places that we stayed had roof gardens, and I know it's not a great picture, but it's a picture of the roof garden in Marrakesh. And we were in the old part of town. We had to go through a little archway to get into this part of town, and you'll see in a minute that all of the lanes are tiny, but we got up in the morning that first day and did yoga on that little rooftop. So that's why you'll see rooftop pictures, because it was a yoga journey as well. So that there were storks all over the place. So that was from the rooftop. We were looking at a stork with the babies up on that tree up there. So this was my roommate Sarah. She has a thing for doors. So you will also see a few pictures of her in front of doors. The doors in Morocco are beautiful. This little symbol, the knocker, the Berber people put those on their doors to ward off evil. So that's what that is. just some pictures of Marrakesh. They had a lot of these horses going around, taking people places. Lots of mosques everywhere. We were eating dinner in a restaurant that was just looking across the street. And this is the old part of town, and a lot of it looked really, it was really clean and really beautiful, but there was a lot of, you can see it. I had an earthquake a few years ago, and you can see a lot of damage to the buildings. So I thought Colin would appreciate all these architecture pictures. So, and that's leaving, we were staying inside the old part, and that's leaving the mosque that was in that picture right behind us. This is our group. So that was the first time I had met any of them except for Sonia. There were 14 of us. We all got to be really good friends by the end of it, so it was a pretty great journey. That's inside our hotel in the little patio. We all went out to dinner the first night. That was my first interesting food in Morocco, called the sefamedfouna. And then this is what I was talking about, all the little old lanes throughout the old part of Marrakesh, and everywhere you go, you can buy things anywhere. There's a lot of shopping. This is potpourri that they do. They color them by hand. Well, that's what they told me, but you never know. Everywhere you go, there's shopping in these tiny little lanes, and there's cats all over the place. There's one sitting on the motorcycle. You have to watch out for motorcycles in those little lanes too. So, all right. So this is day 2. We stayed that first night in Marrakesh. We got up in the morning, did yoga. And this was on our road trip. The second day, we were on our way to Idaho, which this was just taken out the window on the way. Thought it was beautiful. We stopped for coffee. The coffee shops are just either motorcycles pulling a trailer or cars that make wonderful espresso. And so we stopped for coffee, and we saw the little bit of smoke, and then we stayed there for a while because a camper caught on fire. Yeah. So this was the coffee shop that we stopped at right there. There's somebody selling, everywhere there's somebody selling stuff. And I will show you some of my things as we go along. Somebody was walking around selling these little gems. And I was told afterwards, if you buy the colored ones, they're actually painted. But you can't really tell, so you guys can pass it. I liked it anyway, I was all right with that. All right, so this is our guide, Ali, and Zaid in the background. So Zaid was our driver, Ali was our guide. They were fantastic. They both spoke wonderful English. Zaid's wife was pregnant, so the whole time we were there, he was checking his phone constantly because she was about ready to have a baby, and she ended up the last day, he had to leave us early so that he could go be with the baby. So it was pretty awesome, but they were great, wonderful guides. That's the somewhat remains of the camper as we drove by. And then we stopped for lunch, and what was really nice about our journey is that Ali knew that we didn't want to be tourists. He knew that we were there to learn about Morocco, and so we didn't stop at the restaurants very often with all the tourists and stuff. We stopped at roadside cafes. So this was just the sheep across the street from the roadside cafe where they're making tagines. And we stopped there. I think this is just us. They put these tables out for us so we could sit down and eat. And they brought us food, and they were just super gracious, really wonderful people. And those sheep were right across the street there. So they asked how many people wanted to eat and just brought out, it's not, everybody doesn't get a plate. They just bring out a bunch of food and you get to eat. So, and there's also all along the roads everywhere, there's shops. So this is Betsy. I believe she's in her 80s. She was one of our group, and she was a trooper, and we loved to shop together. So we'll see pictures of me and Betsy shopping. And this is when we got to Idaho. So did anyone ever see Gladiator, the movie? So it was actually filmed, the arena scenes were filmed here. This is on the National Registry. I can't remember the actual acronym for it, but anyway, it's being preserved, and we got there, it was full moon. This was from our hotel. I think we did yoga on the rooftop again. It was crazy windy that night, so we were going to climb up to the top that night, but we decided to wait until morning. This is crossing the river to go up to the Kasbah. this is walking through the town to get up there as well. And then we got up to the top and watched the sunrise, so it was pretty awesome. Two of the people stayed down in the hotel, and we wrote yoga, and they were down below us, so it was kind of funny. And then we were just doing some fun yoga things, and that was them down in the hotel zoomed in on us up at the top, so it was pretty cool. That was watching the moon go down. The sun was on the other side, obviously. These are the Atlas Mountains, and that's the town that we were staying in. It's interesting. Oh, that's a silly picture of me. It's interesting, all the architecture. We had a guide through this, and she was really cool. She had a lot of really neat things to tell us. She said that a lot of people used to live in these kasbahs, which, that's love, but backwards. We were doing silly stuff. A lot of people used to live in these kasbahs, but they are now, I think their economy is so good there now that people are able to move and build their own houses. There's a lot of building going on everywhere we went. So that's a wall. That was again for Colin going, this is how they built things. They had bamboo and they poured mud over it. And that was how things were built. That's like the water coming through. But this is all through that kasbah at Idaho. Lots of stairs everywhere. There's little restaurants. There's businesses all throughout. There's still people that live in them. The biggest building is where the leader would live. Way back in the day, they would pick a leader, and that person was the one that just made the decisions, that knew everything about everybody in the kasbah. And usually it started out as family, but then other people came too. And that person just made all the decisions. So they would stay in the biggest place. And this is where Gladiator was filmed. They come in, they take 6 months to put everything up for a movie, and then they spend 3 days filming, and then they have to put it back to how it was. So UNESCO, that's what it was, UNESCO Heritage Site. These are all the other movies that were filmed there. Lawrence of Arabia, Garden of Eden, Prince of Persia, the Bible, Game of Thrones, season 3, all sorts of stuff. So it's pretty interesting to see. And every time they come in, they pay all of the shop owners a bunch of money to close. Our guide was like, they don't pay the guides though. It's really not fair to not work while they're here. But that was coming back through. We saw this guy in a donkey. They don't like to have their pictures taken very often, especially the older ladies. So you won't see a lot of pictures of Moroccan people. But sometimes they will, and then they want money. So we were driving to our next town the next day, and we drove through this village where, again, we stopped at a place that not really very many tourists go. I took this picture really kind of sneakily, and then my friend was told off for taking pictures, so we're probably not supposed to show you that. But that was one of the butchers. And in that town, it was really interesting because Daisy wanted leather shoes. So I was looking for leather shoes, and I saw this guy selling these. And it wasn't a tourist town, and I thought, oh, those are kind of cool. So I bought myself a pair, and I bought Daisy a pair. And I think there's more pictures of that town. I might have got them out of order. Anyway, he said it was made out of camel leather. And when I went to the next place that I went, there was a thing on the wall. He said this is what the nomads wore in the desert. And there was a thing on the wall of all the old shoes that the nomads wore. And those shoes, that exact shoe was there. But I never saw them again, and nobody sold them, so it definitely wasn't a tourist thing, because I never saw them again. So Daisy and I have camel shoes. They're really uncomfortable. I was going to wear them. Maybe if I wear them a lot, they'll get more. I can't imagine that they walk through the desert without being comfortable. So
Can you pass them around too?
Yes, of course. We'll do one that way. These are date palms. We took that from the top of that village, and I actually brought back dates from that area where the date palms were. And this is in that shop. So this is where I bought my shoes, and he dressed me up in Berber attire. And I think I was getting married. I think he actually wanted me to get married after that. I'm trying to find out. I've got a Berber scarf too. So this is the traditional Berber attire. They have dresses and all sorts of things with that. So that's, pass that around and look at the artwork too. It's pretty awesome. But yeah, I think that was a wedding attire. I'm not real sure. He was funny. He was very funny. He brought out lots of stuff for us to shop. Betsy was with me on that one too. We drank a lot of mint tea, and everywhere we go, everywhere we went, the first thing they would do is bring tea. That's what they do for everybody. And they had these beautiful glasses. I just got a couple of them. I didn't get to bring very many home, but I love that picture with all the glasses. And this is, they always pour from way up high. Sometimes it has sugar in it. Sometimes they give you sugar to add to it. But they pour from way up high, and when it bubbles, they know it's done. So if it's frothy, they know the tea's done. So this is just, we were at one of the hotels we were staying at. We were waiting for our rooms to be ready, so we were doing silly yoga poses. That's where that was taken right there. And this is the restaurant in the hotel, and then all the rooms were back through there. So it was beautiful. That's us just eating that night at the restaurant, the whole group. And the next day we went to Kasbah Tamnagat. So this was our guide that day. His name is Saeed. And we walked there. Our hotel was right here, so we just walked over there through some mud and some date palms. And this is going into the Kasbah. So this one is not an UNESCO heritage site, so it hasn't been refurbished as much as Ibn Hadu had. But it was fascinating to listen to him because he took us first through the Jewish quarters, and he showed us the synagogue and stuff. And he was like, well, do you know why a synagogue was here? So it used to be that there was Jewish quarters, Arab quarters, and Berber quarters in these Kasbahs, and then they had streets. And I don't know, I keep thinking the movie Aladdin, where they had those little markets and there's a street right down, and everybody's running around in the street. I don't know if anyone remembers that movie. Anyway, these are the little lanes that kind of separate the three separate sections. And he said that he was really sad about the way things are right now because he wishes that they could still live together in peace. And so he did all sorts of IT work and other things, but he decided he wanted to do these tours so he can get to know tourists and learn English better and try to find ways of making people be able to understand. The Jewish left, I don't remember exactly when they left that area, and then there's still Berber people living there, but the sheep were always kept inside. That was inside the Kasbah, and this was their central market area. I think the kitchen comes off of that. So this is us looking into the kitchen, but you can see all the smoke on the walls. And that's the oven that they used to use in the Kasbah. So it's fascinating. We actually, later on, you'll see another one where we actually cooked food in it. And there is Sarah with another door. This is part where people still live in part of the Kasbah, and then there's older stuff, but they still utilize the whole area. The architecture is beautiful. That's someone's home that's part of that Kasbah there. And then we went for, I think that's looking at it from a distance. We went for a walk through the local area, and that's all of us just hanging out. So then we stayed the night in our place that night, and then the next day we walked. We trekked for quite a few miles through villages, and then Zaid picked us up at the other end. So this is actually a cemetery. So this is a really old one, and Ollie said that every one of these standing rocks is where the people used to be buried. They're mummified and buried from way long time ago. He said now they actually write names on the rocks so they know who was buried there, but they never used to. So that's a very, very old cemetery. We walked through all these little villages. Kids came out and wanted to play with us and talk to us. I didn't know what the thing on the left was, so I took that picture. I never did find out what that was. I don't know, oil maybe? I was a little confused by it. That's our group just walking through these villages. You know it's a separate village if you see a mosque. Every village has a mosque, so that was the one in this little village. Again, just the architecture and everything. And then we made our way to our next place. This is where we were staying, and that's all date groves back there. So we stayed one night in this hotel, had a swimming pool. It had wonderful food. We had a really great meal there. But we weren't there for very long because we had walked so much that day, and then we got up early in the morning to go on again. Those are dates. If anyone hasn't seen dates growing on a tree, that's a close-up of the dates. We stopped. I think we just stopped for a tea or something, or a bathroom break. And this is traditional Berber attire. So this is the man and the woman. I thought that was kind of cool. They had that. This hotel is really awesome as far as decor went. And they had this table outside that I thought was really pretty. My friend sat at it, and she was gold, where the sun reflected on her face. So it was very cool. That is a big chunk of selenite, if anyone's into stones. They find it in the desert, and it was about that big. I might not have brought it with me. I do have a little piece of selenite somewhere, but yeah, it was very cool. The desert was in bloom, so I did take some pictures of flowers. I got lots of goat heads walking through this first section. I got lots of goat heads, and these are the shoes that I wore the whole time I was there. And they poke up through it, and then if I stepped on a rock just right, it would poke my foot, but I couldn't find it. So every time I looked at my shoe, I'm like, there's nothing in there, but then I could feel it. And so I had to really watch out where I was walking through that part of the desert. The rock formations are really cool. Everywhere we went. It was interesting because it would change colors. Like you'd be in one part that's purple, and then you walk another 20 feet and it's blue, and the whole desert would change colors. It was awesome. We stopped for lunch. They actually built a fire and barbecued for us, and that was our lunch stop.
What did they barbecue?
Mostly chicken.
Mostly,
Yeah.
you mean?
Chicken, we had some, I want to say it's beef, but sometimes it was boof. That's how they said it, boof. All I always said boof. It's boof. I'm like, what is boof? We had turkey a couple of times. I would say chicken is the most. They don't eat a lot of meat. They always have meat in their tagines, but it's just a small amount with the bone, and you have to pick it all off the bone, and then it's lots of vegetables and lots of couscous. So, yeah, and we did a cooking class, so I'll show you a little bit about that too. Then we made it to, our next stop was Merzouga, and this is where Ollie's from. So that was the first sight of camels. We were still in the van, and I was like, "Oh, camels!" So that was my first picture. But we stayed. This is our hotel. It was beautiful, and this was the view. So we were right on the edge of the sand dunes. So it was our first actual desert day. So it's the town that Ollie lives in, and he doesn't really do a lot of tours anymore. He's got an ATV business where he does ATVs going through the sand dunes. So my friend Sonia had been there 18 months ago, and she met Ollie then, and so when she called and said she wanted to do a trip again, he's like, I'm not really doing it anymore, but for you I will. She goes, okay, so the difference this time is that we really don't want to be tourists. We want to learn about Morocco. So he took us here. We stayed one night in this hotel, and then we started our desert trek. I think that's just more pictures of the sand dunes. His wife came and did henna tattoos on us all the night before, something to protect us in the desert. And that was mine. That was the soup. I took a lot of food pictures, but I didn't put them all in here because I didn't want to see 100 food pictures. But this restaurant did a great job with all the food. That was one of the salads. And then the next day we took off into the desert. So we had 4 camels with us. Our camel guy was Omar. I think he was like 15 years old. He owned the camels. And they were just there to support us if we needed it. The one in the front had some of our bags. We just took very few bags on our desert trek. But the camel in the front carried most of our bags, and then these ones were just if somebody needed help. And Ollie and Zaid bought us all scarves to put on our heads to protect us in the desert. And they'd asked us our favorite color, so that was all of us had our favorite color of scarves on. And there we all are ready for our trek. The camels were awesome. So the first day we went here first, I think we did 10 miles. This was probably about 5 miles in. We stopped for lunch. And that's when we realized there were ticks, especially under the trees. So
Yeah.
as much as I wanted shade, I didn't want to sit under a tree anymore. They were huge, huge ticks. We had to pull them off the camels a couple times. Anyway, that was one of my only bad experiences. I'm not a big fan of ticks. But that was our lunch stop. The camels love those super prickly bushes to eat, which is odd, I thought.
What's the temperature?
It was in the 70s here.
Pretty
In the
mild.
desert, yeah, it wasn't too bad at all. We didn't get super hot. So the thing about Ollie is he grew up as a nomad. He lived in a nomad camp till he was 7 years old. That was the first time he moved into a village. His family and friends are still nomads. So part of this journey and part of what Sonia said is she wants to know that side of Morocco. So our first day of 10 miles hiking, we ended up at a nomad camp. It's friends of his family's. This is the tent that they had set up for us so we could have some shade. And they brought us tea and food. And then this is just showing you what I think that, I'm not exactly sure, I think that one had beds in it on the ground. And then that was our first meal that we had there, but we were there. That one's got meat in it, but I'm not sure what it was. To be honest with you. And then that's part of their kitchen. That's their oven that they cook in. The ladies were awesome. We spent a lot of time with them. They showed us, we did chores with them, and they wanted us to be wrapped up, and they giggled a lot. They didn't speak any English at all, but there were 4 of us that just wandered around with them doing their chores and helping. So that's the other kitchen there, and I think that one's got beds in it. And then so it's 2 men, they're brothers, each of their wives and their 3 children that live there, and that's all. They've been there for 2 years. They stay until the water dries up, but the water's been really good there for them. So that's their home. The buildings are basically just old clothes wrapped around sticks. And that one you can kind of see a bed back there. This was the perimeter of they mark it off with their version of scarecrows to try to ward off any animals because they have goats and chickens. And they want to just protect them. So that was their perimeter. There she is putting that thing on my face. It was not comfortable, but it was hilarious. She thought it was so funny that we wanted to wear them, or that we would allow her to put them on us. It was pretty funny. So there's all of us out doing our chores. And then we just pitched our tents there. We stayed the night. This is the only one that's somewhat permanent in this structure, and they store all their food and things in it. But the rest of them are just these. That's the goat pen. The baby goats were there, and then there's the goats coming back. So one of the men was out all day with the goats, and he comes back later on in the evening. And then no matter where you are, they will sell you stuff if you. So that's the kids with all the rocks and things that they found that they're selling to anyone who walks by. So it was pretty cool. They had a lot of fun. The kids had a lot of fun with us. They stayed up late and showed us how they play games in the sand. And there's we had 3 extra guides for our time in the desert because they were driving the truck to meet us places with things. So, and then we had a late dinner that night, but they always brought these, if you look at the gold tablecloths, that'll come back in later. But they always set up the table beautifully with gold tablecloths, and we'd sit in the sand and eat. That was breakfast the next morning. Actually, yeah, can't really see. And then that was one of our other guides that was, he's Ollie, he said he's Ollie 4 because there's a lot of Ollies. We had to name him something, so he's Ollie 4. And then that's the 2 ladies and the daughter that were living there. And we did yoga in the desert in the morning, so I thought I better put that. It was a different type of yoga where they had loud music, and it was really bizarre to me to be way out in the middle of nowhere in a nomad camp doing loud music yoga. It was funny. That's my friend Sonia, and that camel loved her. And she loved the camel, so there's we took a lot of really fun pictures of her with that camel. It just, like the camel guy even said, if he had to do anything and couldn't hold it, he'd be like, Sonia, come here. Because the camel loved her and it would listen to what she said. So there's me. I only did about 10 minutes. I am actually allergic to camels. I I just had to do it because I'm in the Sahara. I can't not ride a camel. So I did about 10 minutes, and I didn't have a breakout, but I preferred the walking, so I guess that's it. But that's me on the camel. I was trying to do selfies, but I was so worried that I was going to drop my phone, so pretty funny. And then that next morning when we got up, we started walking. We had a couple people got sick, unfortunately, so they had to jump in a truck. But we packed up our tents and we started hiking again. We did another 10 miles. That's Michael. Everybody called him Alibaba for some reason, but he was part of our group. He's from San Francisco, and he's a character. So yeah, that next day we did another 10 miles, and this is where we ended up. So the truck got there before us, and they put this tent up so we would have some shade. And we just went in there and put all our tents up, and that's where we stayed. They had a blanket out. We got tea as soon as we got there, and then they cooked for us that night. So they are making Berber pizza. It's very traditional. I feel like I have so many pictures of this because I was watching the process. I feel like it could have been a Toyota ad or something because of the truck back there. So they had, I think it's like lard and a bunch of different vegetables, and I think they put some lamb in there, and they put it inside the dough that they had made, and then they stuck it in the coals, in the sand, and then they buried it, and then they flipped it over and they left it in there a little bit longer, and then they pulled it out and started patting it, like smacking it with a towel, and then scraped it for a while and got all the sand off. And then we ate Berber pizza out of the sand. That's what we had for dinner. It was fascinating. I made a Berber pizza for my Moroccan pairing meal, and I didn't cook it in the sand. I didn't think anyone would appreciate the goose poop. Anyway, it was definitely an experience. It was pretty fun. There's some of us just being silly running around in the sand dunes. And those shorts, I should tell you about the shorts. So I didn't take any extra change of clothes. I didn't want to lay down the camels. So on my 3 days, that's what I wore. And the very first time I put those on, and I spilled apricot jam on it immediately. And then we did manage to get a hold of a bottle of wine. There's not big drinkers in the country, but one of the guys got us a bottle of wine, and it immediately got spilled on my leg. And then we thought I was like, you know what, I just need to decorate them. I've had these shorts for so long. And so we all just took turns. Most of it's food. Betsy's an artist, and so she painted some stars and dragonflies on there for me. And one of the guys, this part of my knee, one of the guys, my friend put a strawberry on there and said, "Squish it." And he's like, "No, that's just weird. And don't just do it." And he did. He squished it on my leg, and he thought it was the funniest thing ever. So anyway, so these are my souvenir shorts with camel stamps and food all over them. So it was pretty funny. We watched the art grow throughout the trip. Just playing in the sand. I don't remember what we were doing there, but you can see that's where all our tents, we just went and pitched tents and just stayed the night there. So then on the next day we walked back. We were walking back, and we came to, this is a petrified turtle forest in the desert, and there were a lot of really, really big turtle shells. I just found a little one the next day, but one of the people I was with found one about that big, and yeah, it was pretty cool. Really cool. Isn't that neat? And we did find some other petrified shells and things like that. And then I brought a bunch of the rocks. I didn't bring very many rocks home with me, but some of them were really fascinating to me. These ones look like little pillars. And so if you're interested in rocks and crystals, I did bring some. And I was looking for a heart rock. A lot of this walking, you're just walking for miles and miles and looking at your feet. And I wanted a heart rock, but I wanted it to be one of the ones that looks like it has drawings in it. And the very last day, within about an hour of our last thing, I found my heart rock, so I'll pass that one around too. It's cool because I didn't want it necessarily shaped like a heart, but I wanted a heart drawn in it, so that's what I found. The third day in the desert, we ended up at a luxury camp. So these are popped up all over in the desert. You can find these luxury camps. They had showers, they had hot water, had a king-size bed. We had a beautiful French dinner. I slept. I showered for a long time. I was like, okay, I'm done. So this is at the luxury camp. All of the things are around there. There's a restaurant over here. There's just cushions everywhere. They have live Berber music at night. It was really, really nice after 3 days of hiking in the desert. We did yoga on the sand dunes that next morning. And then so we had a choice. Some people took the camels out. Some people just rode in the back of the truck. And I decided to do the ATVs with all these companies. So this was us getting ready for a ride. We had a lot of fun. Lots of crazy big hills and a little bit of adrenaline going on there. But I think we were up on the top, and there's a group of camels over here that we think were the rest of our team. We're on the camels way down there, so I thought it was kind of cool. Okay, so that was the end of our desert, and then the next place we went to was to Dade's Valley. I just wasn't Tundra Gorge. It's called Tundra Gorge. It's a big tourist attraction. We didn't have very much time, so we just stopped, went out, took some pictures, and went back in. But again, they're selling stuff all over. There you go. But that's why their economy is doing so well, because they get 10 million tourists a year in Morocco. So that's our group at the gorge. Sonny wanted that picture. This is a traditional Berber mountain wear. So one of my friends was modeling that one for us. And then this is the hotel we stayed at we actually stayed here for 2 nights. That was the first time we stayed more than one night. It's way up on the top of a hill. There wasn't a whole lot around it, but I did that at night, and then that one was in the day, just to show you kind of the difference. Yoga on the patio. And then that's looking at the hotel. That's what the hotel actually looked like. It was pretty neat up there. That's where we went to go do from there we went to do a cooking class. So we went to a Berber home. They decided the kitchen was too small, so we decided we cooked outside instead. So this was us getting ready. They brought all the food out. And we made 3 different tagines. One was beef, one was chicken, one was vegetarian. And it was pretty cool to watch and learn. I made one the other night for dinner. It was pretty. I didn't get to bring. These are clay tagines. I didn't get to bring one home because I didn't have enough room in my luggage. But yeah, that's the guy that was teaching us and telling us everything we needed to put in there. All the spices. They have a spice called Ras Al Hanout, which is a Moroccan spice. Has anywhere between 25 and 36 different spices in it. So that was one of the things that we put in there. And then they just cooked them on these little coal pits. They cooked for 2.5 to 3 hours. So we did some hiking while that was cooking. They also made us a Berber pizza, but they cooked it in this little oven inside the old section of the Casbah instead of in the sand. So that was nice. That was her bringing it out of the oven. Sarah, every time we went anywhere, all the women wanted Sarah to hang out with her. And so it's so smoky in there and hard to breathe. And they wouldn't let her leave. They wanted her to see what they were doing. I don't know if she had that personality where they just wanted to show her everything. So poor Sarah got stuck in the smoky kitchen most of the time. So this was our little walk through their village while we're waiting for the food. I took that again for calling because of the electrics on the side of the building. Was fascinating. And then that was one of the tagines when it was done. So they put everything in there. It all cooks for the same amount of time. And then this is inside their house. They had them all set up and we sat there. The kitchen was around the corner. They don't wear shoes in the house. Yeah, it was pretty awesome to be invited into someone's home to do that. So, and then this is going back down the road after we left that place. So it's a little bit windy. I took these pictures for you, Brad. I actually have a video to show you too. So we went to a pottery place, And this guy he was really busy, unfortunately, so we didn't get to see as much as I would have liked to. But he told us the whole process, and he took some of this clay here, and he pounds it for an hour with the stick. That's the first step, is just hitting it with a stick. And then this is his little pottery shop, and he kneads it with the dirt on the floor. That's his second step. And then we got to watch him make a pot. It was really awesome. This is an old wheel, and he uses his foot and moves it with his foot while he's, so it's spinning like that while he's moving it with his foot. I got a couple of things from him. So this one was made, I like that because it was a night, like a lamp. You put a candle in it. That one was made there. And I got this little mini tagine there too. So they have these on all the tables. And they have their salt and pepper in them. They actually have triple ones with cumin too. So I have one at my house now with cumin because I've decided that cumin needs to go on everything. So it's so good on your eggs. If you've never tried it, it's awesome. Anyway.
How does he fire?
Oh, there's more. That's his kiln. So he just puts the hot stuff in underneath. He said he's got some way of layering to do more than one set at a time, but he like layers things through here and he puts all the fire down below. Yeah, and I do have a video of it, but it wouldn't show on this. So, but yeah, there he is with his not quite finished product because he has to let it dry before he does the bottom. But it was pretty awesome. Again, driving down the road and you see beautiful pottery on the side of the road. You can buy just about anything wherever you're driving. This was just random stuff, pottery, clothing, tagines. I'm not sure what those things are, but so that was our next day's drive, and then we ended up in this little town that had an actual locals market. So that was a donkey. I don't know, they wouldn't let us take pictures of the donkeys after that one because I don't think they want any people in them, but there were donkeys all there because the nomads come into these markets and they don't actually have money. They just bring their stuff in to trade. So they'll come in with a full donkey and they'll trade for whatever they need to take back to their desert homes. So we walked around this market. I didn't stay for very long. It was really overwhelming, and there were this group of people that cottoned on to foreigners and followed us around and wanted us to wear their bracelets and stuff. And so I was like, yeah, I'm good. Usually I'm pretty good about going to markets, but it was pretty crazy. So I didn't get any pictures of the market, but this is the market town. And then our next place that we actually stayed for 3 nights was, I totally missed a whole town. We went to a town called Ouarzazate. I didn't take any pictures of it, but it's like the Hollywood of Morocco. And that was before that market. And I actually did go to a locals market there, and I had so much fun because they weren't pressuring us at all. So it was really awesome. And this market was where they sell. The guy said to me, yesterday was an animal day, today's vegetables. So on animal day, they all bring their live animals, and then the next morning, bright and early in the morning, they slaughter all the animals, people take them, and then the vegetables come in. So it was kind of crazy. But the one that I went to, I did buy a bunch of stuff. Really fun, like the jewelry and stuff was all at that locals market that I went to. So got my Moroccan wear on. This is up in a little town called Imlil. It's a mountain town. It's right at the base of, let's say Tulum. Sorry, I keep forgetting the name of the mountain. Tukal. So it's the second highest peak in Africa, and a lot of people come here for mountain climbing. So we stayed 3 nights there, and that's where Zaid had to leave us to go to Marrakesh because his wife was having a baby, so we didn't have a vehicle, and we just spent 3 days hiking around in the mountains. So this is a view from our hotel. I just thought the decor in that room was really, really pretty. And they gave us Berber blankets to wear and hats and all sorts of, there's me in the shower. I told Colin, this is what I want our shower to look like. It was very cool in there. That's the little eating area with the fireplace, and so it got down to mid-30s sometimes at night, and then, yeah, it was pretty chilly, but usually in the 50s during the day. There's part of our group with their warm Berber coats on, and the first day we went for quite a big hike. Betsy rode the mule. She actually rode the camel most of the time, and she found that a lot easier than trekking through the desert. So that's our group getting ready to go up into the mountains. That was somebody delivering hay to the mules up in the mountains. It's crazy, those little tiny roads and all the stuff that was on it. I think in this one, that's a propane truck going up around that corner there too. So this is one of the villages that we walked through. And it's pretty cool that there's all these little villages are just kind of dotted around. And like I said, every one of them has a mosque. Every separate village does, so you know if you've moved to a different village. This guy was selling tagines right there on the side of the path, and fresh squeezed orange juice. He's over there squeezing orange juice. Like, who's gonna come up here and buy a tagine and have to carry it back down? It was kind of odd for me, but I'm like, well, it's cool. But the fresh orange juice was neat. And that's looking back towards the Imlo that we were staying in. And then some of our group went up further into the mountains. They actually got up to the snow. I didn't go with them, but yeah, it was beautiful up there. This Mufasa sells rugs, and I think we all bought some rugs from Mufasa. He was a character, really fun. I had a piece of Berber bread, and we were the whole village. We were all eating bread, and actually I bought this poof up here too. So, and my purse. I got to tell you about my purse. So I just thought it was really, really cool. I didn't think I needed it, but he's a very good salesperson. He said they're very old. It's what the shepherds used to carry these purses around. So, and now they've taken them and they've started selling them. It's got old coins on it. He was telling me how old it was, and then I found a 2001 Canadian coin. I'm not sure but it's beautifully made and definitely a piece of art. Not sure if I'll ever use it, but it's very cool. Pass it around. So I bought some rugs and poofs, so now if you come to our house, that's what you're going to see. It's very Moroccan in there. The poofs are great because we only have chairs on one side, so now everybody can sit on the coffee table and we can play games and stuff. So it's very cool. We had cats everywhere. This was in our hotel. She was pregnant and she used to just come in and she'd be at the door waiting for us to open the door in the morning, and she'd come in and sit by the fire all day long or on Betsy's lap. That was a door in one of those mountain villages. We did walk up the next day. There's one of the mosques. And that's all of us walking around. Somebody was doing laundry. It was laundry day in that village. And I think somebody lives up in these things. There were some pictures I missed out of here of some of the nomad camps that were actual caves in the mountains where they live. In the wintertime, they live down low, and in the summer they go up higher because it's cooler, but they just go and make their homes in caves in the sides of the mountains. So that lady, I did not mean to take that picture. I was taking pictures of these cats, and when I went click, she stepped out right when I went click, and I'm like, I'm sorry. But I had some moving pictures so that it starts out without her, and then she looks around the corner and scowls at me. And I'm sorry. That's us on one of those 30-degree mornings doing yoga on the rooftop. And the clouds rolled in. It was like it cleared just for our yoga, and then the clouds rolled in. We were socked in, and then that was doing another session later on another rooftop. So that was the end of that part of the journey. We went back to Marrakesh, where we stayed one night. This is the center of Marrakesh. I didn't spend very much time there. Sarah realized that I have a hard time not getting eye contact with people, so I was told, don't do it. Don't go in there because they've got snakes and monkeys and everything, and they want to put them on you and take pictures and charge. And I was like, I'm just gonna just gonna stay on the outskirts. But it was crazy how many things, like miles and miles of people selling things everywhere you went. I mean, I probably saw 100 shops like that with all the lamps. We went to lunch at a place that did a juice flight. Those are all different juices. It was really cool. It was American prices in Marrakesh, so it was really interesting to go to a rooftop restaurant that was obviously catering for wealthy people. These signs were all over the place, the jewelry, the spices. There's more spices. We were walking, we were gonna go it was me and Sarah and Betsy, and we were gonna go look at an old school. And we're walking along, and it's the first time I traveled a lot. Colin and I went to 18 countries, and I learned a lot on those travels, and it's been a little while, but I kind of thought in Morocco, everybody was actually super kind, and I did never feel like I was being scammed, never felt like I wasn't safe. It was one of the safest places I've ever been, until I got back to Marrakesh. So we're walking around, this guy on a moped says, "Hey, are you looking for, where are you, are you lost?" Because I was looking at my phone, and I said, "No, we're looking for this school." And he goes, "Oh, you want to go to the spice parties too, right? The ones that aren't for tourists." And I'm like, "Well, eventually, but we really want to go to school." And then he pointed in the direction, and then he left. And we were walking, and about 20 minutes later, he goes by us again. He's like, let me show you. And he put his scooter down, and he took us for a tour all through these little lanes, and was telling us about the earthquake and what was happening, what was going on, and this is Jewish and this is that, and he was like a tour guide. And then he took us to this place, this one right here, and he was showing us this stuff, and then he said, "But I don't know how to explain it to you." And he asked the guy that was working there if he could explain some of the beauty products to us. And the guy said, "I don't speak very good English." He's like, "See, this is a very, it's very local, it's not for tourists." And he was telling us the prices. It's only 60 dirham, which is $6, and he was all these things. And I was gullible enough to listen to everything he said. And then he goes, "Okay, I'm gonna go now, and I'll leave you in his hands." Well, then they bring out tea. They sit us down, they bring out tea. They do facial masks on our hands. They say, "I'm gonna give you this, I'm gonna give you this," and they fill up a bag, and $120 later I've got like a couple little things. How did that happen? Well, it's per gram. The price is per gram. It was one of those things. I had that happen to me a lot in Thailand, where they would take you, like people all over the town would take you to this specific place that was paying all these people to do that. And I don't know how it worked, but it was hilarious. It was so much fun. We didn't really care. It was pretty silly. We got some great spices. We got face masks, we got rose oil, we got amber. Oh, this is really, does anyone have trouble with strong smells? This is amber that I got from that shop, and I'm gonna leave it in the bag, so there's rose oil in there too, so you don't have to totally smell it if you don't want to. But I have it in my dressing, in my closet, and in the bag, and my whole room smells like that. So that's amber that I bought from one of these little things right there. The rose oil's in there too, which is kind of cool.
To smell that smells really good.
Yeah, it's pretty. And so then on the way back, I had Betsy with me, and like I said, she's in her 80s, and apparently in Marrakesh, they kind of prey on older people. So we're walking along. The only time I ever came across anyone that was anything but super gracious and nice. This kid, he's like this tall, 4 years old, I think, had a big stick, and we were walking down an alley, and he told us to stop. And Sarah was in the front. She's like, "Open the sesame." And he picked up his stick, and she walked by, and then he saw me, and he let me by, and then he put it down in front of Betsy, and he was not going to let her go. And he was there for ages, and he was like, "No," and he was trying to get her to give him money, and I finally kind of grabbed him gently and kind of to move him aside. He came after me with that stick.
Oh, no.
He was swinging it at me, he was mad, he was chasing, and then somebody walked outside, and they stopped him and apologized to me, but I was like, holy moly, they start young, that's But that's us after we spent a lot of money with the guy who spoke perfectly good English in the touristy shop. But this guy was making shoes, leather shoes, so that was us trying on shoes. And then this is on our way back to Marrakesh, but that was our last little stop at a coffee shop, and we took some group photos with everybody. So that's back to Marrakesh. So I think I showed you almost everything I did. I missed that. That was a really cool little brass camel. And at that place, the spice shop, he threw these in. I don't know how much I paid for them. But this is lipstick, and I don't have any water right now, but you get it wet and you just rub it on your finger and rub it in, and I have it on. It's a red lipstick, and you just literally just touch it with water and rub it in, and it's natural Moroccan lipstick. So, yeah, I think that everything. There's a couple of scarves up there, and rocks and some Sahara sand that I brought, and that selenite's there too. So does anyone have any questions? I don't know, an hour? Sorry. I tried to go fast because I knew I had a lot of pictures.
I was just interested when you were saying that you guys were doing that 3-day trek out on this desert, and they put up a scare to keep animals away from their. What animals were they going to be concerned with?
Not big game. I think it would be more wild dogs or something. Okay. I didn't see any. The only thing we saw while in the desert was donkeys, wild donkeys. Okay. And that was the only animals we saw the whole time we were in it, besides our camels and cats. Yeah. So.
When you were in the desert, you showed a fellow squeezing oranges.
Yeah.
What type of agriculture does Morocco have in that area?
Everything. They have, and actually I meant to tell you, when we were up in the mountains in Imlil, it's the apple capital of Morocco. Okay. Right up in the mountains was apple orchards. Some of those pictures, apple orchards everywhere. They have fresh fruit. The hotels we stayed in had fresh oranges growing right there in the center of them. So much fresh food. Everywhere we went was all fresh food. Fruit and olives that they just would pick, and yeah.
The nomads in the desert, though.
Oh, the nomads in the desert they didn't have fresh, right. They didn't have, they had their meat, but they didn't have any vegetables or anything, so I think that they would just go into those markets and trade whatever they had made. They traded for vegetables and things, so.
How far would a market be from where you were staying? Say the fellow that had the orange, where you had the orange. Distance-wise.
Well, the oranges was up in the Imlil. That wasn't actually in the desert. That was in the mountains. But we hiked 20 miles to get out. So
if they wanted to go get an orange.
I think they have vehicles because we had that guy with the truck that would come around and meet us places. So I don't know if the nomads actually have them, but they probably have people that they can like. And everybody had their phones on them all the time in the middle of the desert.
Phone?
Yeah.
iPhone.
They're all talking on the phone. I didn't have any service, but Ollie was running his other business while we were hiking through the desert, just talking on the phone the whole time. It was hilarious.
Maybe Spirit Lake could take some knowledge from the internet and the phones.
Yes. John.
From what you presented, is it safe to assume that tourism is a major component of their economic base?
Definitely. Okay. Yeah, they get 10 million tourists a year. And I had no idea. It wasn't even on my bucket list until I went there, but the tourism is most definitely, and that's what's helping with all of their, everybody's being able to build houses. There's so much building going on. They've got a great thing going on with tourism. They cater to them. They wanted us to be there. It was really nice to feel like we were wanted, because I've been to places where people are like, oh, tourists, kind of like us.
Well, money, not you.
Tourists are here.
Usually they say American.
Right. But yeah, no, they were so welcoming, and there's a big thing of motorcycling around Morocco is a really big deal. You can go rent motorcycles, and they had tours where you could motorcycle around the country. I think that's what Colin and I'll probably be doing for our 25th anniversary, since I spent my 20th in Morocco without him. Yeah, I just said I want to take him back. We're going to go do a motorcycle tour. of Morocco. It's a beautiful country. It was amazing. The people were awesome. So, any other questions? Sorry, I went on for a while. I didn't realize.
No, good job.
Thank you.